Hey, I'm Andrew.
I am Ted.
And welcome to Streaming Without a Paddle. This week, we sat down and we watched
Father Stew.
Now, in all honesty, in all fairness, this is not a streaming service original. I didn't realize that when we first started that because that's the focus here. But it's on Netflix. And is that right, Netflix? Yeah, Netflix.
Yeah.
It was a theatrical release. I did not realize that.
I think it did well.
Well, percentage-wise, it did do well,
Yeah.
but it did not have a huge box office. I mean, it went to theaters in April of this year, 2022, and by September of 2022, it was on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's, it grossed according to the internet, and you can't ever disagree with the internet. It grossed $21 million.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's rough.
And it said the budget was $4 million. Now, I'm going to take it that was below the line. And for people who don't understand what above the line is and the below the line, and this makes me feel good because I get to pull out my producer hat here. And that is that your below the line is going to be all the crew and the expense of making the movie, and your above the line are the principal actors and the producers and that. And often, and I'm sure with Mark Wahlberg being an executive producer or a producer of this show and the star, that it cost a little bit more than $4 million to make.
I bet he took
points.
Yeah, I bet he took back end, and I bet he did. I bet he got paid like base.
You think so?
Yeah, because I think that he knows that movie, foreign wise, I bet it did well.
No, it did less than $1 million in foreign. Less than $1 million. It was.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone in it is an Oscar-nominated actor. Everybody. Did you know that?
Except for Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. No, he was Oscar-nominated.
Was he?
The Departed.
Oh. Well, I stand corrected. I'm sorry, Mark.
The mom, she was nominated for Animal Kingdom.
Right.
She's good in everything.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson was... Mel was... I know that he's not a good person. And, he's done some sketchy things.
Right.
But, there's not a lot better than him. He's really good at acting.
He is.
Really good at writing and really good at directing.
Yeah.
And that is rare.
I'm not going to lie. When his character first, right at the beginning of the movie, he plays the dad, Mark Wahlberg's dad in this, or Stu, Father Stu. I was like, oh my God. Because it was the first shot of Mel Gibson playing the father. Was a real quick cut between a very young Father Stu dancing and singing along, lip syncing. Then it was a quick cut to this guy sitting in a chair, back to the kid dancing, and I was like, oh my God, that was Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
I was shocked to see him in it. I really, really was. But he was phenomenal. But let's back up. Yeah, it didn't do well. It didn't do well at the box office, and so...
I had to watch it in 2 sittings.
Oh, I sat down and start to finish, and I loved it.
I was just bored.
You know what? I'm getting to the point, I can understand there's some slow times in it, for sure. But again... I think Mark Wahlberg, for the first time that I've ever seen him, I didn't even like him in The Departed, okay? Because it was just, to me, an angry Mark Wahlberg. Everything that he's in, it's just that. But this was really acting. I thought Mark Wahlberg did a phenomenal job on his part as Father Stu. I do. I just, but...
He did it's not him. He did a good job. They all did a good job in their roles. It's just
It was not a typical Mark Wahlberg movie.
No, but it's also just not like, I don't know. It just wasn't. It wasn't. I just didn't think it was super well written. I didn't think it was super like. It didn't tug at my heartstrings. It didn't make me like. First of all.
And that's the purpose of this show, folks. We want to give you two different generation perspectives. Yeah. Because I'm not going to lie, and it might be for the fact of things that are going on in my personal life that put me closer to that. Without any spoilers about what the movie is, it's, Mark Wahlberg's character is Stuart Long, and he's a boxer
from Montana.
From Montana, yes, that's right, and. He's kind of a troubled guy. I mean, he doesn't, he boxes in the ring and he boxes out of the ring. And when he's not boxing in the ring, the law is generally on his butt.
He's drinking.
Yeah, he's drinking. So anyway, he falls for this young lady. He moves to L.A. to be an actor.
He does a commercial.
Right. That gets him some coin, an infomercial, actually. And because he was able to move out of the hotel into an apartment, and he fell in love with the girl who dragged his butt to church, and then he fell in love with God.
And he became a father.
He did. And there are a lot of things. Don't take that as you've seen the movie, okay?
Oh, you've not seen the movie. We're not giving you any of the struggles and conflict he has to go through. And
yeah. And again, this movie's based on a real life.
I am sure that that guy was awesome, and this was very dramatized version of his real life. But I'm sure.
So you think there was no motorcycle accident?
I don't. I mean, I don't know. There's some sort of accident. I mean, the dude was on arm crutch things.
Well, that was, he was neurological issues there, disease. So, I mean, it couldn't necessarily be about the accident.
Yeah, I mean.
And all the beatings he took as a boxer, the doctor warned him that he was, because he wasn't treating his injuries correctly.
Yeah, I mean, he was just drinking.
Blood disease.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you have all these things wrong with you. It's like, you know what'll make the pain go away? Whiskey. Which, for a time period, it will.
Yes, it will.
Then it'll catch back up, and you'll be more sore and more hurting.
Yeah,
but don't get. I don't know. I don't love religious movies. I just do not. It's not a thing that I love. Like, I'm not anti-religious movies, but I don't usually tend to sit down and watch them. This one. Maybe I wanted it to be more of a Mark Wahlberg movie. Like, when he started boxing at the beginning, I was like, awesome, this is going to be about a preacher that boxes. And then I was like 20 minutes in, I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. But I did enjoy every interaction he had at that deli counter.
Yeah.
You a movie star? You've been on TV show? I was like, he's a good actor. I'm sorry. I like Mark Wahlberg. I think he's great.
It's not that I dislike Mark Wahlberg, but he has never really won me over, wowed me with the performance. Not even in The Departed, so.
Four Brothers? Fear? Did you ever see that one with Reese Witherspoon?
Yeah.
He's good in that, and that's like his second movie ever.
Yeah, I get it. Just encapsulate. It just seems like the same person playing something over. And here's the thing, and this might be the reason: the makeup, the prosthetics that are applied at the end, towards the end of the movie, really takes the visual of Mark Wahlberg away.
Yeah,
because they were really well done.
Mm-hmm, but it was funny. At the top of the movie, he's boxing, shirtless, and he's warming up. And I was like, oh my God, he is chiseled. I was like, how old is this dude? I thought maybe he was like 48. He's 51.
Right. Well,
not that that's a huge difference, but it is a huge difference,
Well, the thing is, though, is that, again, timeline in this movie, until the end, until they started applying the prosthetics, it was just kind of this. Matter of fact, here's what happens. To me, it was started out mustache, unshaven face, longer hair. He gets accepted into seminary, and he cuts his hair, shaves his face, and he's clean. He looked younger.
With the longer hair?
No. Going into the seminary than he did in the beginning. I mean, it was like it took 10 years off of him. And I thought I was like, oh my God, this guy, what is he, 40 years old, the boxer? The boxer. So, and then I didn't buy it. I had a problem with that until they started applying the prosthetics and which were just, I lost Mark Wahlberg. It was an actor in there. And it was phenomenal.
The scene he did with the prisoners when his buddy, or not his buddy, it's his frenemy, right. And like his frenemy in the seminary, like they're in this jail, and they're giving they're talking to them about it. And the guys in jail are like, I mean, what do you know about blah, 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 blah? And he just comes up and he's like, all right, so after we leave, who you going to call? Your mom? Oh, she's already forgot because you're in prison. Your girlfriend? Well, she's probably sleeping with some other guy right now. She goes, you know who's always there for you? God. And I was like, it was just real plain. I was like, that was the best moment of the movie to me. Him saying those 3 simple lines. I was like, this is your best performance in this movie.
No, it was. I agree. I mean, it was a good point of movie, but that was the progression of him, though.
Yeah.
I mean, to get into seminary, they didn't want him in there in the first place because of basically his background. Who was he going to appeal to? And his argument was, we're not all the same. I appeal to this particular genre demographic of people. So why wouldn't you want me here? Why wouldn't you?
It was a good point.
And so when they did get to the prison,
those are his people.
And those were his peeps. He's already been there, well, not prison, but jail. So, he had an understanding of how to relate to them, as opposed, and his frenemy, had a completely different upbringing. I mean, that was his life path from the very beginning, and that wasn't the life path he wanted.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Didn't mean to tell that one.
That's okay.
That's kind of a spoiler.
I mean,
it's a minimal thing. It's just a moment in the movie, but
Let's talk about Mel Gibson, though.
He was great.
Every scene he's in, he steals. Every one of them. I'm like, dude.
Yeah. No, he does.
I'm going to erase the fact that you screamed at your ex-wife, and I think you hit her. I can't remember. It's been a long time, but I'm going to erase that from my memory for this movie.
Yeah, no, he was a scene stealer, and that's saying a lot because I think Mark Wahlberg did a really good job, and but Mel Gibson, wow, that's just so sad, that life to tarnish that. Same thing Bill Murray's going through right now.
Dude, sidebar. What is happening with Bill Murray? I don't know this, but somebody else said the same thing. I know he said something to a co-star on an Aziz Ansari movie, and then they all quit.
Yeah, well, they stopped production to walk it backwards to apologize or whatever. I don't know if they've gone back, but since Gina Davis has come out and she's quick change, they had some issues on set with her and him. And of course, she was so young at the time, Anyway, Is
it just that he's an ass? Is that what it is?
I don't.
Because I don't think it's like sexual stuff, but I have heard he's an ass.
I'll be honest. It's hard for me I see the story headline, and I just shake my head and I go, "Oh, Bill, I'm not going to read it. I don't. I don't want to do that."
I know that. I don't know. I don't think that Aziz Ansari thing was over that. I think he literally was making fun of some actress for not being very good. And she was like, and I've heard that if he doesn't think you're good, he'll call you out, which is crazy.
Yeah, because up until St. Vincent, he was just Bill Murray. I mean, granted, he nailed Bill Murray. I mean, everywhere he went and everything he did. But up until St. Vincent, in my mind,
I'm gonna go down a deep dive and figure out like what he has done lately. Gina Davis.
Yeah. Well, report back. I can't.
You can't do it.
No, it's just too disappointing. Because
Well, it's like
I
like
love
a childhood guy that you were like, oh. It's like when we heard Chevy Chase isn't a nice guy. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I think the thing with Bill, I think he was very funny, and I always thought he was real mellow. He's everything that he was. My impression of Bill was he was everything that he's apparently not. He was the coolest guy, the funniest guy, but so this is kind of earth-shattering for somebody who grew up in the late 70s and the 80s watching Bill Murray do his thing. And
Meatballs, Stripes. I mean,
yeah,
so much. He crushed it.
Yeah, Caddyshack.
Oh.
Yeah, so and see that I did a TV movie called Separate but Equal, and just a peon on it, but the production manager Ted.
The Kitty Dodd story. Didn't you shoot a scene for that at my mom's house?
Yeah, that was the Kitty Dodd story.
Yeah, you shot a scene for that at my parents' house.
Yeah, I was the location manager on that one. Yeah. No, I was down at Disney, and I was just a PA or something on that movie. And Ted Swanson, we were doing Separate but Equal. And Ted Swanson was the associate producer and unit manager for the show. And Ted was the UPM on Caddyshack. And, I got that trophy right there is from the Dalai Lama Classic, which was a golf tournament we threw at the end of the show. And for Ted. And so, we got to hear Ted tell us stories about working on Caddyshack. I grew up a golfer, so Caddyshack is like one of my all-time favorite movies.
They're drunk the whole time, weren't they?
And that was pretty much it. I mean, there's some great biography. It was funny because there are lots of biographies out there now. They made an official, and Harold Ramis is in it, and Brian Doyle-Morey. A lot of the cast are in it. So, and this is 25 years after talking with Ted, or Ted regaling this stories of being on the set of Caddyshack, and to hear 25 years later basically the same things Ted was saying.
Yeah.
About Caddyshack, and he had nothing but really great things to say about Bill. And he said the big problem on that movie was Rodney Dangerfield and Ted Knight. They really clashed.
Shocker.
Yeah, I mean, so, but Ted said that Ted Knight was actually really, really funny. I mean, he was like he was one of the funniest guys, if not the funniest guys on set.
That's funny.
So,
and Rodney was probably rolling in at noon every day. Like,
I think that was Rodney's first movie. I think.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of, I'm sure nervous tension. And of course, your first movie is a Harold Ramis movie. And if I'm not mistaken, he was just coming off of the success of Animal House, which he wrote, John Landis directed. And the studio said, okay, go ahead. You direct this one.
Animal House is 79. Caddyshack is 80, right?
Yeah, I mean, And then Stripes comes after that.
That's 82 or 3.
Right. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But, it was Harold Ramis's
then Ghostbusters
directorial debut. So, but anyway, the whole Bill Murray thing. Sorry
to sidebar us.
Yeah, you called sidebar.
We can go back to Father's Day.
Sidebar. Father's Day. Yeah, I liked it. I'm going to give it, I liked it. It was touching to me. I'm older than you. I've got some personal things that our family's going through that kind of struck a nerve, maybe. That's what it was. It was refreshing to see Mark Wahlberg, not the Mark Wahlberg.
I hear that.
Mel Gibson, though. That's how we got sidebar.
Yeah. He's great. I'm putting aside my personal feelings about how he's acted in the past, but he, as a performer, I don't know a lot of people better.
Yeah, yeah, that's. But it's sad that it tarnishes you like that.
Yeah, I mean, the scene, this doesn't ruin anything. He wants him to get baptized, and the scene where he's talking in the AA meeting about getting baptized is genuinely touching.
Yeah.
He has no relationship with his son. It's real fractured because he's kind of a drunk too. And it's just like this real heartfelt, like, well, I'm here because, my son wants me to get baptized, so I came to this AA meeting, but it's like, whatever. And it's like, so touching.
But he sold it as outwardly, you're right. But he sold it as his character really wanted to be there. He needed it.
And like him helping his son when his son is sick, and like he didn't want help, and he's like, I'm here for you. I mean, like, I didn't like the movie, but there was a scene that he picked Mark Wahlberg up in a bathroom where I was like, okay.
I thought they had really good chemistry together.
Well, they were in another movie together playing father and son. They were in Daddy's Home 2.
I did not see that.
Yeah, that's the Will Ferrell movie.
That's the reason I didn't see it.
You don't like Will Ferrell?
I have a Will Ferrell tolerance level.
This is so interesting. This podcast is going to be so
good. We're renaming this episode or the show Sidebar.
Yeah. No, I mean, we don't have to. I'm just going to find a Will Ferrell movie that's coming out soon, and then you can just unload.
What was the Wahlberg Will Ferrell movie where they play cops?
It was
bad
Wrong Guys or Nice Guy.
Nice Guy. No, that's. I can't believe.
Yeah, but I remember. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed, but for me, that was the perfect role for Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he's a peacock. You got to let him fly. When he started doing ballet, and he's like, yeah, I learned it for 8 months. I was like, this is so funny. He's funny when he, like, fully commits to being dead serious about stupid things. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course I took ballet for 9 months. I mean, that's when he's funny.
Well, see, those, yeah. All right, I'll go with you on that. I enjoyed them in that, him in that, and Will Ferrell was more tolerable in that for me. He just gets over the top sometimes.
Yeah,
he just. I mean,
that's fair. He does. Sometimes I can't.
And you know what it was? I enjoyed Will Ferrell up until the movie that killed NASCAR.
It did kill NASCAR.
It did.
Yeah, it's Days of Thunder. Like Days of Thunder made people love NASCAR, and that movie made them think, "Oh, this stuff is funny."
Yeah, no, it did. You want to know what killed NASCAR? The motion picture Talladega Nights.
That's fair.
That was. I think NASCAR was exposed at that point. I mean,
well, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I'm sorry. Like, look, I mean, I've never been to a NASCAR race. I'm sure that they're fun. I've heard they're a ton of fun, but I mean, like, the culture around NASCAR is ridiculous. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And they just pointed it out, and they, like, obviously embellished, but like.
Did they? Do you think they did?
I mean, I remember Darryl Waltrip and stuff back in the day. Was that him with the hat? He had the cowboy hat?
No, that was Richard Petty. Richard Petty had the cowboy hat.
Richard Petty was 100 driving that car around.
I mean, I don't think it was much of a stretch.
Like, are we really thinking that Ricky Bobby is that far from Richard Petty?
In that era, yeah. I don't think they're too far off. I really don't.
I think, yeah. I mean, yeah, but anyway.
Well, I have a history with NASCAR, so I have to legally leave it at that. I can't say any more other than the matter has been resolved.
Yeah,
that's legally,
it's been taken care of.
Legally, that's all I can say is the matter has been resolved.
But I would say about this movie. This is my general takeaway or my review. I think it's very strong performances. I don't think the script is great. I think it's okay. Because there's a lot of... Really, I think it needs another edit. I think that movie would be greatly improved by shaving 20 minutes off. Because it doesn't move at a good pace. You know what I mean? Like, you even said it. You loved it. And there are points when it
Well, yeah, it
drags.
did. Yeah, it did.
The other movies that we've talked about, like, you know.
Last week's show.
Yeah, last week's show, the beer run. That does not drag.
No.
The whole time you're engaged. You're with it.
You're there.
I thought that this needed a better editor. But
yeah.
the performances were good. So the editing thing, that's kind of on the director.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I don't think it was directed or written very well, but they were good performances.
Yeah, again, my headspace might just be in a different place. I mean, if you're over the age of 50 and you're dealing with health issues, you might find this movie enjoyable. It might bring you closer to God.
I just don't go to the doctor, so I'm good. I'm just like, I can run a 7-minute mile. That means that I'm healthy.
Yeah.
One of these days when they draw blood, though, they're going to be like, "Oh goodness, sir, we need to get you on some cholesterol pills or something like that." And then I'm going to be like, "Oh."
Well, we come in and do some dialysis every other week for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, just
6 months. Yeah.
That is the fear. I have to get a real physical this year, and I haven't had one since I was like 35. I'm 43. Everybody, just FYI.
Well, I do it every other year at this point, and there's no reluctancy to it. I just get it done, because at my age, it's like the doctor say, "You're in good shape."
Yeah,
that's a booster. That'll carry me for 2 years. I've got it. I'm good. 2 years.
I just.
But
on the outside, I'm extremely strong and in good shape and everything like that. But, like, you don't ever know what your blood work on your heart is going to look like. And I just, like, it scares me. Like, I've gone to, as I've gotten older, eating vegetarian 3 days a week. I'm like, nope, got to eat all vegetables today.
And that's what age does to you.
Yesterday was a vegetarian day. Yesterday I had like vegetable delight.
At the beginning of the summer, I discovered these little things they call grapes. I vaguely recall them when I was a child.
Yeah.
But they're really good.
They're your new thing?
Yeah. But anyway, all right, I can see. Father Stu, yeah, you're right. It was slow at times. Performances were great. The story was what the story was, and we're doing back-to-back based on real life movies here with The World's Greatest Beer Run last week, and now Father Stu. I think the thing I enjoyed about this is I'm getting to a point where I'm over the Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Thor, Love and Thunder, just like that was enough for me when it comes to. It was nice to sit down and watch a real movie, a story movie, not an action movie.
Yeah, I can see that. Look, those Marvel movies, like I'm with you. I like. Let's just pause for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, I like them. Come back and do them again, but can we have like 2 years without them?
True.
Also, I can't think, and I'm just saying, I can't think of a more miserable thing to have to act in than a Marvel movie where you're looking at, like, you're on a big green screen all the time. It just seems awful. They wasted, what's his name in Thor? Christian Bale. Wasted. Like, it was just like, Christian Bale, can you come in here and do, like, 3 monologue scenes and then a fight?
Well, and Russell Crowe, too. I mean...
Yeah, but that Christian Bale, I mean, he was so good in that Thor movie, but, like, he's barely in it.
And he's not really recognizable.
No, he's covered in scars and all this stuff. And
yeah. Wow.
But that's another review. We don't have to review that one. It's been out a long time.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed this because it was nice getting back to watching a movie, a story movie, just like last week, Well, there you go.
Yeah. I would say if you like this type of movie, if you are into the vaguely religious sort of uplifting, turn your life around movie, redemption story, then you will enjoy this movie.
Yeah. I didn't find it as much a story about religion as much as of a story that dealt with religion was the subtopic to me, because this real story is just this guy's progression, from being a localized badass to finding God.
Yeah,
and it wasn't, so.
I guess you're right. When I look at it from that perspective, I understand what you're saying. It's not really religious.
It wasn't, since Mel Gibson is in this, it wasn't the last temptation of Christ religious.
Yeah, and it wasn't one of those movies that all of a sudden, a lot of these movies that they make, they make here. But, like, there'll be a very normal movie about, like, whatever, and then all of a sudden, in the third act, they'll be like, Psalm 7, blah, 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 and they'll shoehorn a Bible verse in there so they can get, it's a religious movie. And it's like, well, it wasn't till you did one scene, but sure. I saw some movie, I can't remember the name of it, recently with William Zabka from Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, but it was right before they did Cobra Kai, like the year before, and it was a movie about this washed-up baseball player that was kind of a drunk, and then I promise you, out of nowhere, towards the end of the movie, they just whoop,
slipped it in.
Yeah, and that's what bothers me. This movie, you're right, it was the subtext, so I can take back a little of my like, okay. Yeah, my mom loved this movie. And my dad was like, but my mom loved it. She's more sentimental, though.
Well, I make no argument there. I'm a softie. So I did. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was, again, refreshing to watch something that, for me, that just wasn't action. It was just, I like good story-driven movies. So, and that was, that was it for me. Anyway, the movie is Father Stew. It's now airing on Netflix, and because it did, I don't know,
it did very poorly
at the box office. Which, as we tried to stick with originals here, this one slipped in on us because it made it to Netflix so quickly from the box office that it didn't have a chance to get stuck anywhere.
It is weird, on a side note, that they keep putting movies out on streaming and in movie theaters at the same time. It's like, if I were going to put the new Halloween out, I think I would wait till after Halloween to put it on streaming. You know what I mean? They put it out the same day, October 14th.
Well, I understand why networks or studios do that. I mean, streaming services do that, because once you've attracted that person to purchase their service, the by the time they get wise to what they've done and cancel their subscription, they basically have paid $50-$60 for that one movie.
I use Peacock all the time because it's got all these different channels on there.
Uh-huh.
Peacock's great. Peacock's, NBC, they've got Bravo, they've got all that stuff. I like Peacock.
Well, that's like Hulu.
Yeah,
they've got
it's like
ABC, and you
Hulu,
go in, you can pull all the back episodes and things like that.
Basically, we're paying for cable, that $100 cable, but on 5 different streaming platforms.
Right. Which justifies it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because what's your cable bill? No, it's not $100. I mean, I pay $67 for for
and
Hulu.
Now they put sports on.
But that Hulu is just, it's Hulu, it's live, and I get Disney Plus with that for $67.
And I get ESPN Plus with my Disney Plus and my Hulu.
Yes, I got ESPN Plus too.
Yeah, it's like that's $20
that's altogether.
A great bundle. That's a good bundle.
Thank you, Disney.
The Netflix one is the one that I'm like, oh, you're sticking it to us. You're like $18, and your product is not that great anymore.
Right.
Like, you don't get me wrong, some of your product is wonderful, but you put out a lot of not wonderful.
Yeah, that's been a thought. Well, I can't because of this, so I drop it. So. Well,
yeah, we can't drop any of them.
When
we get done,
and now I've got to go get Peacock.
When we get done here in a second, I'm going to give you my Shudder password.
Okay. Hey, all right. So we're going to wrap it up here for another episode of Streaming Without a Paddle. And this week, Father Stew, I'm a watch. If you're looking to decompress. You need to, do a little self-evaluation, and I say, yeah.
I'm if you have seen everything else and you were, something new popped up, I'll watch Father Stu. But it's definitely on the bottom for me on my queue.
Yeah.
But I would watch it.
You did.
I did, but you told
parts.
me to.
Two parts. So you had to break it up. You had to break it up.
I finished it this morning. I watched it last night. I just finished a film, and I went with my two friends, the director and the producer, and they were bowling at East Side Bowl in Madison, which is super cool if you haven't been. It's the old Kmart. They're right there.
Oh.
It's super cool, though. They redid it on the inside. It's very fun. And I went up there and bowled a couple frames with them. And then I got home at like 9:30. And it's a long movie. So I put it on, and I was like, 11 o'clock. I was like, I got to get up in the morning.
Sounds like age is creeping in on you. 9:30, even if it's a 3-hour movie, that's just 11:30. Come on, Ted.
It's late, man.
Well, all right. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Streaming with the Paddle. I'm Andrew.
I'm Ted.
And we appreciate you tuning in. Thanks.